pull Malik in here because I am not a mental health. I pretend to be a mental health clinician. I play one on TV. I am not. I'm a communications person. Let's pull Malik Sampson in. He's an associate marriage and family therapist. Malik, the question that I really want to ask you, I'm trying to figure out a nice clinical way to put this question, but we're among friends, so I can just ask, right? What's in it for me? What is in it for the person doing the act of kindness from the mental health perspective?
Yeah, so quite a few things. First, starting out with like everyone is saying amazing things regarding acts of kindness, but one thing is to always remember that the act of kindness, it has to come from a place of genuineness, right? So this idea that yes, some people are posting on social media when they are being nice or doing these great, not necessarily means that it's not from a genuine place, right? If you're an organization and you're doing community service once a week, you might just want people to know that you're doing community service once a week. For maybe maybe there's people out there that can look at that and want to join. Maybe there's people out there that can get ideas from you posting that you're doing community service. So it's less about what we think people are doing it for and more about, okay, the individual person. If I'm doing this from an intentional and genuine place, then it has the opportunity to help and benefit me. If I'm doing it from a place of where I just want people to know this is what I'm doing, then it doesn't necessarily have those positive mental health implications because it's not coming from that genuine place. So when it's coming from that genuine place, what it can do for you as far as mental health goes is boost your self-confidence, because boost your self-confidence also change your perspective and outlook on other individuals. If we have this idea that people are not kind people, that people are out to get you, people are not going to do positive things for you, then if you can't do those things for other people, then it's really hard for you to change that perspective. But if you can go in and be intentional and genuine with acts of kindness towards other, then it's also showing you that there's other people out there like you. There's other people that can also have this that has this perspective of I'm going to be genuine and intentional. So if you're like that, then it helps gain this sense that there's other people like that. And so it can definitely help with interpersonal relationships and your confidence in other people to be the same way. And another piece of that is also boosting confidence and boosting confidence and boosting optimism and that outlook that you have, which ultimately helps reduce stress, reducing stress as far as having negative emotions such as anger and anxiety and depression. So all of these things definitely play a role into it as well. It's just not helpful when you have what it comes to be detrimental to mental health when you have this idea that I'm not going to do acts of service because no one does these things for me. No one is going to do these things. So now you have this outlook of if I do these nice things to people, I'm a sucker. Like, a lot of times people don't want to do these things. So I think it's good to look at it from that angle too of, well, if I'm a person that doesn't believe that people are going to do for me, and I just don't do for others, then I have all these negative things. So now it kind of counteracts that. And it also promotes gratitude, which can also be very helpful for mental health, for your mental health as well.
Thank you. It benefits us to practice acts of kindness. We heard it from the expert. I want to ask this question. We're a small enough group. If you could briefly share, when was the last time you committed one of those acts of kindness and talk about it? What was it? Andre, start us out. When was the last time you did something nice for someone just because?
I try to practice acts of kindness on a daily basis just because of the person I am, whether it be volunteering, whether it be visiting somebody, or whether it just be listening. And for the latter part of it, my last act of kindness was I had a friend call me and they were going through a situation and they just need somebody to talk to. And they were trying to explain that, hey, I talked to my family, I talked to this person, nobody's trying to hear me. And I just sat and listened. Mm-hmm. And then, once I was done listening and I gave my response, about 45 minutes passed. And before it was over, the person said, hey, you know what, Andre? I just want to tell you, I appreciate you. Thank you for listening to me. I just needed somebody to listen to me.
That's powerful, really powerful. AJ, what about you? When's the last time you committed an act of kindness?
Yeah, my acts of kindness aren't really on a large scale, given that I'm young and don't have money to spare in college. But the other day my roommate was studying because it's final season, so and I wasn't doing any study work. I was just in there, watching videos and whatnot. So I gave him a space and left the room and went to a study lounge to give him his quiet time and be able to study in a comfortable environment.
Yeah. You raised a really good point. I don't think you need a budget to be a kind person. You don't need a lot of money or a lot of resources to practice an act of kindness. So I think that's equally as powerful. I'll share briefly, and then I want to get to you, Jonathan, and you, Patrick, and I hope that Emilio is still with us because I want to hear from him as well. Just today, I was at the grocery store in front of waiting for the deli, and there was a big group of people, and the woman just ahead of me was this older person. She was even having trouble standing there, and they didn't have a system to track who was who in line. And just as the next clerk came to wait, she said, "Can I help? Who's next?" This Karen walks up, and I think you all know what I mean when I say this Karen. She walks up and she goes, "Oh, I'm next. Can I have half a pound of roast beef?" And here was this woman in her 70s or maybe even older, and I said, "No, you weren't next. This young lady right here was next, and you need to wait your turn." So that's the kind of thing I mean. To that older woman, I committed an act of kindness. Karen didn't think I was a very kind person at all. So that's where I'm coming from when I say sometimes my delivery can be perceived as less than kind, but it just really irritated me that there was this member of the senior community that was waiting as patiently as anybody else, and this woman breezes out of nowhere and says, I can't wait, and why don't you put this together? So that was my last one. It was just today. I like you guys. Andre, I think you said it. I try to commit at least one of them every day. I try very hard to just pause and be kind to someone every day. What about you, Jonathan? When was the last time you committed an act of kindness?
I commit an act of kindness like Andre. I try to do it every day. I try to, like hold a door for somebody, let somebody else go before me at a light or at a stop sign. To me, life is not something that you rush. When you rush through life, you miss the best part of life. So, a kind person will let everybody get their joy out of it. Some people get their joy out of life seeing somebody else happy. So just, like last night, I got a friend, she's been going through something with her dad and father, and just me going by her house and sitting there talking to her for a few hours, just listening, they appreciate that. It didn't cost me nothing or, just a little bit of my time, and that's just an act of kindness. That's just, the way I was raised. Some people is not fortunate to have the same things that some people get. So
Amen.
kindness is not something financial or anything like that. It could be just something simple. You go before me. Let me hold this door open. Let me see you carrying something here. Let me carry that box for you. That ain't costing you nothing. Some people they appreciate that more because that box that they might be carrying might be the thing that might be breaking their back, and you come and lift that off there, and they appreciate that. They can finish their load going on the rest of the way.
And Patrick, I'm going to get to you in a second. I want to hear about your last one. Jonathan, do you find when you do things like this, I find it's sometimes people are really genuinely surprised. There have been times where I saw a woman, a neighbor a few weeks ago, and she was really struggling to carry something out to the curb, for trash day. And I just walked over and I said, "Hey, let me get that for you." And she was kind of hesitant and really surprised to see that I had crossed the street to kind of help her do this. Does anybody else face, shock or surprise? I think we as a society aren't used to people being kind to us. So when someone does and there's nothing in it, I wasn't asking for any payment, I didn't want anything from her, people are sometimes a little surprised. Do you find that or no?
Yeah, because it's like a neighbor over by my mom's house. She's a lot older, and it was about a year or so ago before she had moved. She didn't have nobody to put a trash can out. So what I started doing every day on trash day, when I went over to take my mom's and put hers out, I go in and I'll put hers out for her too. That was just act of kindness because I knew she couldn't do it every Friday to, come and put her trash out. I'll come do that every time I did it for my mom. I do it for her too. That didn't cost me nothing.
And that's back to what we were saying with AJ's example. I think some of the best acts of kindness don't cost anything at all. So really a beautiful story. Patrick, act of kindness. Now, remember, y'all, when Patrick talks about his act of kindness, this is the man that just tried to cut me down about my social media followers. So let's see. Patrick, what is your last act of kindness? It certainly wasn't to me. You did not extend that act of kindness to me. So who did you extend that to, and tell us that story?
Michael, are you an oak tree? Because it's quite shady over here. Anyhow, As a clinician, I usually try to be kind to my patients, and not just during the encounter, but also in terms of their arrival. We have really tight schedule. Most of my appointments about 15 minutes pop. So if someone is running late beyond their allotted, allowed like late arrival time, that really pushed me behind. And if I have to do procedure and whatnot, then it's really put a stress on me to finish my schedule on time because my staff is also on the clock. Um, I have this young lady who also a person of color, and we just get along really well. And I love to chat, so I would talk with her about her life and whatnot. And she's always running late. My staff is really irritated because she's always running late, and they afraid that our encounter will take long, and then they have to stay late behind and interfere with their daily life. But I almost always try to make an exception for her because without knowing the background story, my staff don't know that her father just had a stroke, and he had a tough time with mobility, and he cannot do very much for himself. So that even though she's out on by the door ready to go on time, if her dad needed something, she need to just pause everything on her personal account to help her dad. And for me, she doing her responsibility. She's taking on her responsibility as a daughter, but she's also doing that kindness to her dad every single day, taking care of him because he has other children who refuse to do that. So for me, my act of kindness is allow her to be late and still see her, even though my staff is not available to assist me. So something that I do, and I also would like to piggyback on Malik stuff, saying because I really like the fact that when you do something good for other and commit an act of kindness, it really gives you that boost of self-confidence, and you just feel good doing it. That's why people around Christmas time, everybody want to volunteer because they want to feel good in this season of giving. But it's something that you can do all year long. There's have been studying done actually showing that social aspect of altruism or committing an act of kindness is very powerful, because when you commit an act of kindness, it's in turn giving you that mentality that I am a good person, and in return you keep doing those acts of kindness. It's a very powerful cycle. Contradict from the vicious cycle that we usually see with bad things that happen in people's life. Also, when you do an act of kindness, the person on that receiving end often in time will have that sense of belonging, not just gratitude, but there's been study done on a lot of communities of colors where people have been treated kindly. They really have that sense of belonging, and in turn really cut down crimes that can be a result of angers or frustrations or disappointment with the way that the world is going.
I appreciate you sharing that, Patrick. Really appreciate it. We're talking about acts of kindness and checking in on what each person's last act of kindness might have been, how frequently we practice kindness toward others. When was the last time you extended an act of kindness to someone else? And tell us about it a little bit.
All right, so I was just at this buffet, and this guy was getting plate. Like, he was starting to serve himself on a regular plate instead of the bowl for the Mongolian grill. And for that, you need to put it in the bowl. I told him like, hey, but he didn't speak English, so I told him in Spanish. He was like, oh, thank you, thank you. So that was that. And like right after that, we had to shoot out from there. So I had to go drop somebody off, go make sure that they got their stuff that was like, so I had to make sure that they got their jobs done.